Very much indeed, Professor. My name is Bongchul from Hankuk University of Foreign Studies, Korea, and I just arrived in this country last night. It was my first visit to this country, these beautiful countries, and I'm in love with this country. I will spend about several days, and I think I'll be very happy. Okay, I think I have to rush for the other presenters and also for the we have to more break time for the dinner. Okay, and my subject is international law and national law, or for the Korea EU FTA. The framework is quite simple. There's two parts. The first part is about the international law on the Korea EU FTA, and the second part is the national law, domestic laws on the Korea EU FTA. As you know, Korea is one of the FTA edited countries. There were so many FTA with the other countries, from the South America, Chile, and the US. And the EU, of course, and other Asian countries. So I want to talk about the international law regarding the general FTA and also Korea EU FTA. Okay, briefly speaking, in the WTO regime, there are several rules or provisions of the FTA or just the preferential trade agreement, such as the customs union and FTA. Article 24 of the GATT is the symbol of the rules. So for especially for the trading goods, I don't want to talk about the details about these rules. Second one is the enabling clause for the especially for the developing countries. The official name of the clause is the 1979 decision on differential and more favorable treatment, reciprocity, and fuller participation of developing countries. Quite long. After the Tokyo round, to boost the participation of developing countries to the GATT regime, and nowadays the WTO regime, they made these special rules. So if a certain FTA or preferential trade agreement, if the partners are developing countries, then the members of the FTA can rely on the enabling clause, not the Article 24. So then the WTO will provide a more favorable treatment for the FTA. Article 5 of GATT is for the similar rules with the Article 24 of the GATT, but it is for the trade and services. Okay, that is the framework of the Korea EU FTA. I will skip this one. And then we can talk about many issues from the FTA, but I just want to focus on briefly focus on the FTA issues. For example, safeguard. Safeguard means emergency action with respect to the increased import of particular product where such import has caused or threatened to cause serious injury to the importing country's domestic industry. That means if a certain country imports a certain product, if the imported product may cause the serious injury or threaten to cause a serious injury, then the other part can make certain special measures. That is the safeguard measure. under the WTO provide the safeguard rules as well, and then, but those kind of provisions and rules are based on the most favored nations principle, non-discrimination principle. But FTAs provide a bit different types of rules. For example, bilateral safeguard, regional safeguard. Bilateral safeguard is that between the FTA partners, they can provide or they reduce the possibility of safeguard measures for the partner. That is a bilateral safeguard measures. So bilateral safeguard measures can be not, there's a possibility, not harmonized with the MFN principle of the WTO system. Regional safeguard, these rules are based on the regional boundaries, and global safeguard is the typical safeguard measure in the WTO system. So a certain FTA can take bilateral safeguard or regional safeguard or global safeguard at the same time, or they can select one of or two of them. Korea-EU FTA and the partners provide bilateral safeguard measures and the global safeguard measures. All the global safeguard measures, they just provide the provision to follow the MFN principle or the special principle of the WTO system on the safeguard measure. So the global safeguard measures in the Korea-EU FTA is very similar to the WTO rules. But these bilateral FTA provide the agriculture safeguard measure. It is the special things. I think these safeguard measures is based on the consideration of the Korean's position, I think. Okay, now Korean domestic laws on the FTA. That is my individual opinion. I think FTA or bilateral trade agreement generally is, you can say that this agreement is the kind of infrastructure to make more benefit, like natural resources. But so we can call that as the legal infrastructure to make more benefit from the legal tools. So FTA is the legal infrastructure to make more benefit. So Korean government tries to use these legal infrastructure, but to make more benefit from these legal infrastructure, they had to change a bit domestic rules following these international laws. So you can see the changes or reforms of domestic rules of Korea after their FTA policy. Good examples of these changes of domestic laws of Korea is the customs law. Of course, the customs law must change after the FTA when they have the FTA with other countries, and the law on inspection of unfair trade act and trade remedies. This is the special rules for the trade remedy action such as safeguard. These two rules are good examples of changes of domestic laws on the FTA. But in the different aspect, Korean government made new special rules to adjust with the changes of trade environment. The special act on the assistance to farmers, fishermen, following the conclusion of free trade agreement, And the other one is act on the trade adjustment assistance following the free trade agreement. The two domestic rules are made for the support for the certain domestic industry. For example, when the Korean government made the FTA with other countries, many agriculture and the fishery industry, the fishermen, for example, they worried about the changes of the situation, economic situation, and then they made a different opinion to the Korean government. So after the consideration of the opinions from the farmers and the fishermen, Korean government made these domestic rules. The basic concept is that to support farmers and fishermen after the FTA. But these domestic rules may have some possibility, some possible problem with the international rules. For example, WTO rules have the quite serious international rules to regulate the